Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our program. My name is Susan Van Epps, and I work for Loudoun County Public Library. And I am excited today to be hosting a program on holiday recycling with Tony Hayes. Tony Hayes, as you might remember, joined us a couple of years ago for a program on recycling, and today he's here with a special emphasis on holiday recycling. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, Susan. Thanks for having me on again. It's good to be back.
You're welcome. And if I didn't mention it, you are the recycling specialist for Loudoun County government, and we are excited to have you with us. With everybody out buying presents and bringing home food and going to parties, there's a lot of special things in the holidays, around the holidays, where recycling can come into play. So if you're ready, I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us today.
All right, great. Thanks. Well, let's get started. So with the holidays, certainly we use a lot more material. We gift wrap, we have parties, we have get-togethers, we eat a lot of good food, and there's a lot of waste that's generated through all this. Typically from Thanksgiving through New Year's Day, we generate about 25% more waste. So there's definitely an opportunity to try to capture at least what is recyclable and send it off to a new use again rather than to a landfill. So when we're thinking about what to recycle and how to recycle during the holidays or any time for that matter, but with a holiday focus, we'll be exchanging gifts most likely in many of our homes and offices, and there'll be a lot of gift wrap and bows and ribbons and typically somebody passes around a garbage bag or something to pick up all the material and hopefully be thinking about recycling it. But one thing we want to make sure we do is put recyclable items in the recycling, not non-recyclable items. The companies that receive this material want it to be recyclable. They don't want to handle trash if at all possible. So looking at these pictures on the screen, we have presents with bows and shiny papers, and the main thing to consider is when we're recycling our gift wrap, it should be paper and only paper. It's okay if there's tape on the gift wrapping, but any kind of ribbons or bows should be either reused or discarded as waste. It should not go in the bag with all the recyclable paper. These ribbons and bows can actually create tangling issues at the sorting plants where the paper goes to be recycled. And so also, some of the types of gift wrap are a metallic type of material or a plastic type of material. Typically it's very shiny. This type of material is not recyclable. It should not be included with the paper. Again, what we're really looking for is paper.
How about one quick question, Tony? How about
Sure.
If people want to wrap their gifts with paper-based ribbons or paper-based twines or other natural materials?
A good rule of thumb is if you can tear it by hand, if it's paper and you can tear it by hand, then it should be fine. But things like twine or anything that could be considered a tangler at one of the recycling facilities should be discarded as waste rather than going in with the recyclable materials.
Thanks.
Sure. So also, there's going to be millions of holiday cards going around, and most of this material is recyclable as well. Again, we're looking for paper gift cards and greeting cards to be recycled. Any cards that are not paper should just go in the regular trash. And also something to consider is some of the holiday cards that we receive have a battery installed in them, because when you open the card, a song plays or a little jingle, and that's actually being powered by a little button cell battery somewhere hidden in the card. That battery should be removed prior to recycling the paper gift card, and then that battery should be recycled with other batteries at special collection programs, not in the curbside recycling.
How about that card on the right that had glitter on it, Tony? A lot of these cards have some metallic lettering or some glitter on them. Are they okay?
Yeah, it's something like that is okay. Glitter or even some metallic, writing on it is okay, as long as the primary material of the card itself is paper. So some of the paper items that we want to make sure we exclude from our recycling bins would be any kind of paper that's contaminated with food waste. So in particular when we're having our parties and get-togethers, some of us may use paper plates. Those paper plates should go in the regular household trash, not in with the recyclables. Same with pizza boxes. They typically have a very greasy bottom there. That material should be discarded as trash as well. If you are inclined to try to recycle some of that cardboard box that the pizza came in, feel free to tear off the lid. Usually that's pretty clean and very recyclable, but the remaining part of the box I would suggest discarding as regular trash. Same with napkins, paper towels, and tissues. All those items should go in the regular trash after they're used as well. All right, so we'll move on. So here are some other typical recyclable materials. Start with the plastic bottles, jugs, and jars. When we're recycling, we want to just pretty much put those types of items in our recycling bin. Of course, they need to be empty and lightly rinsed out. But again, it's just the plastic bottles, jugs, and jars. No plastic utensils, no plastic cups, no plastic clamshells, no styrofoam. Again, just the bottles, jugs, and jars. As far as metals are concerned, of course, we can recycle aluminum beverage cans and the steel cans that food comes in. We prepare all of our meals. These metal cans are very recyclable. In fact, with aluminum beverage cans are recycled at about over 100,000 cans every minute in the United States. Pie pans are recyclable as well, but just please make sure that they're cleaned lightly at least. Some of the items that we may cook with, we may use larger cooking pie tins to cook turkeys or other items. If you want to recycle those, again, they really need to be wiped pretty clean before they go out with the recycling. Recyclers really want clean and dry material as much as possible for it to be at its most valuable. As far as the aluminum that we see on the top left there, the aluminum foil is certainly recyclable, but it's difficult for very small items to be recycled when they go through the sorting process. So if you crumble up a little piece of aluminum and throw it in your recycling bin, chances are it's not going to make it through the sort. What I do is I'll take the aluminum and the aluminum foil and I'll make it small enough that I can fit it into an aluminum can. And that will help ensure that aluminum foil will get recycled. Otherwise, you have to save up enough of that foil to make it large enough to make it through the sort. Anything smaller than, say, a playing card or a credit card in size is not going to make it through the recycling sort. Glass bottles and jars are certainly very recyclable. Loudoun County offers 6 collection locations currently where residents can take their glass bottles and jars that have been lightly rinsed. We just want the glass, no caps, no corks, or any other type of material. And again, it's really just food and beverage containers. Anything that might have had candles in it or other items should be discarded as regular trash. The glass comes in different forms and has different melting properties to it. So we want to try to keep it as consistent as possible, and that's why we stick with just the food and beverage container glass. If you'd like to recycle your glass bottles and jars through your curbside recycling program, you're certainly welcome to put it out with your other recyclables, but know that when it does go through the sorting process, that glass may be discarded as regular waste at the end of the process because it gets mixed with a lot of small plastics and metals and paper. It makes it very difficult to process that glass to be recyclable. It's very expensive to do so, so the processors tend to just discard it as waste, or at best use it as what we call an alternative daily cover material at landfills, where they actually cover the trash. We're required to cover trash at the end of the day at our landfill, and likewise at other landfills, they can use this material instead of using soil or something like that. We don't use glass as an alternative daily cover at the Loudoun County landfill, but others do outside of Loudoun County. Okay, some of the things, other types of food and beverage containers that we do not want in the recycling bin, as I mentioned earlier, plastic utensils, forks, spoons, and knives, plastic trays, clamshell plastics, any type of plastic container other than a bottle, jug, or jar should go in the trash. Same with styrofoam. Any type of styrofoam material should be excluded from curbside recycling or from the county's recycling drop-off centers. When we buy TVs or other items that may have styrofoam packaging lodged within those boxes to protect the items, that should be removed from the cardboard and discarded as waste. And then the cardboard boxes should be flattened so that they can be recycled. Same with cups, plastic cups, the solo cups, the beverage cups that we get from fast food restaurants and other places that serve them. They are not recyclable with our curbside recycling or at the county recycling drop-off centers and should be discarded as waste. And that also would include things like straws. Same goes for plastic bags, grocery bags, retail bags can be returned back to the grocery stores for recycling, which is a great thing. They can be used to make plastic lumber to build decks and rails and other items, park benches, for example. But the plastic bags should not go in the recycling bin. All right, we'll move on. All right, so one thing to make sure we try to do is, make sure there's a recycling bin next to your garbage can, at least in the kitchen. If you're having a get-together over the holidays, if you've got a recycling bin that's properly marked, your family and friends will know where they can drop their bottles and cans so that they can be recycled. Again, if we don't have a recycling bin that's near the trash can, a lot of times people may think that you don't recycle, even though it may be somewhere else in your home, maybe in the garage or basement. They may think you don't have a recycling bin and just assume that they'll put their bottles and cans in the regular trash. So I highly recommend keeping a recycling bin in the kitchen with the trash can. Then when it's all said and done, we remove the recyclables from our homes. Typically, I know in my house, we have garbage bags in our recycling bin and trash can, and we just pull the whole garbage bag full of recyclables, take it out to the recycling bin out in the garage. But then what we have to do is dump that bag so that the recycling goes loosely into the recycling bin. I don't stick the whole bag of recyclables in the bin. Bags are a problem for the sorting facilities. They don't want bags. They cause tangling problems in the machinery, which they have to shut down to remove the bags a couple of times each day. It's very costly for the recycling businesses to have to do this. And typically, if they receive material in tied plastic bags, they will just discard it as waste. They don't have time to bust open all the trash bags to see what's inside them or to try to empty recyclables from them. So we want to definitely make sure we dump our trash bags or recycling bags into the recycling bin so it's loosely done. When we put our trash out, yes, you leave your trash in your bag and you can put your trash bag, your bagged trash in your trash can. But recycling's not that way. You got to dump the recyclables loosely. The picture on the left here, I definitely don't want to leave items out where the wind can blow them and create litter in your neighborhood. And again, you see the bagged cans there on the bottom. That's a no-no. That bag should be emptied into the recycling bin and then that bag either reused or discarded as trash. Something else that I've seen a lot at the county's recycling centers is people will bring boxes, like a cardboard box, and it'll be stuffed full of flattened boxes. And then they'll take that cardboard box and stick the whole thing in the recycling container at the recycling center. And that cardboard box takes up a lot of room, even though it's got all the flattened boxes in it. If the boxes would just be all flattened, dumped into the bin, including the box that was holding the boxes, that should be flattened too. That will actually make a lot more room in our recycling bins for more people to put more material, and helps us keep the bins from overflowing. Likewise at home, when we're opening up our gifts, sometimes what people will do is take a bunch of different recyclable types of material. Could be some cans, some wrapping paper, maybe some other items that probably aren't recyclable, and they'll stuff all that material into one of the boxes that a toy came in or something, and then stick that whole thing out in the recycling bin, which is also problematic. Again, it should be dumped loosely into the recycling bin. And when we mix materials like plastics and metal in a cardboard box, especially a box that might be closed, it's not going to open up through the process. If that ends up going through as cardboard to the paper recycling, it's still going to be full of all that material, which is obviously not paper, and just becomes a big contamination issue for the paper plant when they're trying to recycle the cardboard box.
Tony, isn't the fact that the box is sitting on top of the trash can also an issue, just for the for the person who's got to come along in the truck and pick it up?
Yes, it is. That it's harder for them to do this efficiently when there's a material all over or around the recycling bin. And really, probably the biggest problem though is the likelihood of a light wind just blowing that box off of the top and then dispersing the material that can then blow down the street and get in the storm drain. The companies that pick up our trash and recycling really expect that the material is put inside the bin and the lid closed to help prevent litter. I know that during the holidays, we're going to have, again, more material generated, and there may be more material than that bin can hold. So I would encourage residents to check with their curbside service provider to see what they would recommend. Should it be just putting a cardboard box next to the recycling bin with some recyclables in it, leaving the box open, or putting something on top of it to help keep items from blowing out? But again, I don't recommend putting anything in plastic bags next to the recycling bins if you want them to be recycled, because they won't be. It has to be done loosely. So maybe it means holding on to some material for an additional week until the next go round, where you can fill the bin up again with the recyclables. Or you could certainly bring material to the county's recycling drop-off centers. There are 8 of them where we accept recycling free of charge. So a lot of items that we get have batteries in them. And as you can see in these photos here, and really they're all just numerous types of products with batteries. And when the holidays come around, we get rid of the old stuff, then comes the new. But just when we dispose of items that may not be usable anymore, an old drill, an old iPhone, or a toy, first of all, consider, is it recyclable? And if it is, where can it be recycled? None of these items would go in our curbside recycling bins or at the county's recycling drop-off centers. But there are specialized programs that do accept electronics and batteries for recycling, and that's where those items should go. Loudoun County offers what we call a household hazardous waste collection program, where we have collection events beginning in March, and they run once a month through November. We do take August off. There's a break in August, but otherwise we have them once a month. And residents can bring their different chemicals from their household, including old gasoline and batteries, household batteries, reusable or rechargeable batteries, single-use batteries to these events so they can be properly disposed or recycled. What we don't want is to have any battery or battery containing item put in the recycling bin or in the trash can. There are some batteries that are actually flammable, and they can cause fires at waste processing or recycling facilities. So we want to make sure that no batteries go in the recycling bins or even in the trash cans. They should be properly disposed of elsewhere.
Good. Maybe just avoiding the hoverboards altogether is a good idea. Tony, what do you think?
I'm not going to stand on one of those things, but I don't know. It could be fun if you've got enough skill. Okay, so let's move on to recycling our holiday trees and wreaths. There are programs available after Christmas where residents can recycle their Christmas trees or holiday wreaths. If you have curbside recycling service provided at your home, most likely that service provider will be picking up cut Christmas trees for recycling. We will be accepting them free of charge at the county landfill from residential curbside collectors, and we'll be turning the Christmas trees into mulch, which will be given back to the public free of charge at a later time. But the one thing to consider is when you put your tree out at the curb, your cut tree for recycling, it needs to be free of any ornaments or lights. So, the tree on the left would have quite a bit of stuff to remove to make it look more like the tree on the right. And likewise for the wreath, to make sure that when we get it at the landfill, we can grind that material up and not have a bunch of plastic or metal mixed in with the mulch when it's done. Loudoun County will also be offering 5 collection sites for Christmas trees and wreaths beginning day after Christmas, and will run through the 3rd week of January. And those sites will be posted on the county's website at loudoun.gov/recycle. We'll also send a news release out about it. Typically, we have these collection sites in South Riding, in Sterling, in Purcellville, and in Lovettsville. And we'll also have a collection site at the county landfill recycling center where people can dump their tree free of charge for recycling. Now, holiday lights can be recycled as well once you need to get rid of those if they're not working any longer. There is a company in Sterling. Their name is Potomac Metals. They recycle metal, and they will accept holiday lights for recycling. You can also bring them to the Loudoun County landfill and recycle them in the paid section convenience center, where we accept scrap metal items like old bicycles, refrigerators, and lawnmowers, and Christmas lights or holiday lights. And there is a fee for that. The minimum user fee is $7 to use that facility. However, the recycling center, where you can take your bottles, cans, paper, and cardboard at the landfill, is free of charge. All right, moving on. I guess just one last note, the county does provide some guidance on recycling available at the county's website. And I would encourage everyone who has questions about recycling to first take a look at the information provided on the county's website, including this recycling guide. This guide basically provides the lowest common denominator for what is recyclable in Loudoun County as far as curbside recycling is concerned, or what's collected at the county's recycling drop-off centers. The companies that receive the material generated in Loudoun County can recycle all the items that we've listed in this brochure. So you can rest assured if you put it out for recycling and it matches what is indicated on this brochure, that that item is going to be recycled and not disposed as waste. What the companies are asking us is to try to help provide as much guidance to the community as possible to help keep waste out of the recycling bins, because that waste, items that are not recyclable, we may think they're recyclable, maybe we don't know, but we'll just guess and throw it in the recycle bin and hope for the best. In many cases, that item is not going to be recycled locally, and it's just going on in a longer trip to a landfill or other disposal facility at a higher cost than just sending it straight to the disposal facility instead of to a recycling center where it has to get sorted out from everything else first. So I encourage everyone to take a look at this information. It's helpful, and it also has our contact information for any further questions anyone may have. We're certainly available to assist with that.
That's great, Tony. Thank you so much. I think this has all been wonderful information. And as always, I managed to learn something new every time I talk with you. This time I learned that Christmas trees are turned into mulch, which is available to citizens, residents. I never knew that. So I'll be following up with you on how I can get myself some free mulch here in a few months. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the great information. And as our viewers are going out to family parties and holiday events this year, they can take this information hopefully. And if they see people throwing away putting their clamshells in the recycle bin, or throwing away an individual piece of aluminum foil, they can correct them based on the information they've learned from you today. So thank you so much and happy holidays. And if you don't have any other closing words, I'll just say thank you again.
Great. Thanks again for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.